speak this word of life into you.
Oh, beautiful people.
Every one of you are
Beautiful people.
oh, oh, oh,
Beautiful people.
every one of you are
Beautiful people.
I see you.
I see you.
And you're beautiful.
And you're beautiful.
I see you.
I see you.
And you're beautiful.
And you're beautiful.
I'm looking at you.
I'm looking at you.
And you're beautiful.
And you're beautiful.
I'm looking at you.
I'm looking at you.
And you're beautiful.
And you're beautiful people.
Every one of you are
Beautiful people.
oh, you're so every one of you are
Beautiful people.
the God of me, he's the God of you. Namaste.
Namaste.
I say namaste.
I say namaste.
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 I say namaste.
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 I say namaste.
I say namaste.
I say namaste. Every one of you are.
Beautiful people. Beautiful people.
Every one of you are. Sing this to someone next to you. I see you.
I see you.
And you're beautiful.
And you're beautiful.
I see you.
I see you.
And you're beautiful.
And you're beautiful.
I'm looking at you.
I'm looking at you.
And you're beautiful.
And you're beautiful.
I'm looking at you.
I'm looking at you.
And you're beautiful. Namaste. Oh, namaste.
Namaste.
I say namaste.
I say namaste.
Oh, namaste.
Namaste.
I say namaste.
I say namaste.
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 I say namaste.
I say namaste.
Namaste. The God of me, he's the God of you. I call you beautiful. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every one of you are.
Hello, good morning. Happy Sunday. It is so good to be here with each and every one of you as we are here to celebrate the truth of who and whose you are, to celebrate the magnificence of God in, through, and as us. Let us get right into it by starting, as we always do, with prayer. And this morning, our prayer champion, Reverend Shauna, will lead us in prayer.
Good morning, beautiful people. Happy Sunday. Let's pray. Let's breathe. Let's breathe in love and breathe out compassion. Let's experience the palpable love filling this gathering right here and right now. I recognize the truth of what this thing I call God is. God is infinite supply. It is all love and compassion. It is all peace and harmony. It knows no obstacles. It is everywhere present. It is all knowing and all knowledge. It is beyond words and thoughts. There is only God and only good. It is within us, above us, around us, and under us. It lives in you and it lives in me. There is no separation in God. The divine in me bows to the divine in you. I see you as God sees you, perfect, whole, and complete, made in the image and likeness of God. I know that God works through me. I know that love is God in manifestation and the strongest magnetic force in the universe. I know that when I send out real love always returns to me. As I am one with God, you are one with the love which belongs to you by divine right. When my eyes see a situation, a challenge, or an obstacle, I know it is illusory. I go deeper and experience the call for love in all situations. And as God works through me, it works through each one of you. You are imbued with divinity, with unlimited power, unlimited love, unlimited wisdom. With God, all things are possible. I recognize that we are one in spirit and all part of the God mind. Regardless of the 1% difference in our perspectives, skin color, sexual orientation, birthplace, age, or ability, we are 99% identical in our genetic makeup under our skin. And we share the stardust that comes from the cosmos with every visible, animate, invisible, and inanimate thing everywhere. Today we rejoice because we are here. We rejoice because love is the way. We rejoice because we are in a loving community that expresses this love. We are reminded of this today through prayer, meditation, music, and message. We rejoice because we are praying from the realm of the answer. We rejoice because we are working with the law of love. I now release this word back into that divine law that already knows what to do and how to do it, and declare that it is already done. So it is with total joy, expectation, and acceptance that I now say Amen, Ashe, and so it is.
Amen.
Ashe.
And so it is. Yes, yes. It feels good to begin with prayer as we always do, knowing this truth, establishing this truth, and setting the tone and vibration for this service and for this day. Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome, particularly welcome to those of you who may be joining us for the very first time. Feel free to shout yourself out in the comments. Let us know where you're connecting in from. We appreciate that you have chosen to take the time to share this moment, this Sunday, this time with us, knowing that you could stream any number of services because everybody and their mom is streaming.
Everybody.
We find it very joyous that you chose to hang out with us on this Sunday. And so if you are a first-time guest, we would love to stay in touch with you, and it's very easy to join our mailing list. Just text the word welcome to 347-472-1078. Please, just the word welcome, no other emojis or signatures, hellos, I love it here, CSC is awesome. We hope that you find it awesome, but you have to just text the word welcome in order for this to work. Just texting the word welcome gives you, you'll get an automatic reply, which has a link. Tap that link, enter your information. Once you've entered and submitted your information, you'll receive a confirmation text saying you're all set. So that's how you know that you're actually on the mailing list. If you don't get that confirmation text, you won't be on the mailing list. If for our international folks, it's easiest because this is a U.S. number to text. You can go directly to our website, celebrationsc.org, and click the option to connect, or scroll down and you'll see that option there on the website on that page. So let's see. I believe we're going to get into some announcements.
Yes.
And after some announcements, then we will move into meditation and into today's installment of We Got Game. So the first thing we want you to remember, it's a reminder, we've been talking about it all month, is that CSC will be closed next Sunday, May 30th. This is what we do every year. We close Memorial Day weekend. This is, of course, the kickoff of the summertime. And so that Sunday, we do not have service. I encourage many of you to revisit the previous classes. We may restream one or more of the classes on Sunday or over next weekend because it's a great time to catch up and just hear things that you may not have heard before, which is absolutely wonderful.
Right, and if you're joining us for the first time, it gives you an opportunity to read the chapters, and by next Sunday, catch up so that you'll be right on track when we come back after next Sunday.
Yes, yes. Now, we've been talking about it all month, and this will be our last Sunday to talk about it, that this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are very much interested in breaking the stigma, knowing that mental illness is treatable, knowing that it does not need to have a stigma, that just as we may get a cold or have some other condition or medical experience, right? It's absolutely treatable. And we also recognize that while many of us may not have a mental illness, we definitely can have mental health challenges as we move throughout our lives. And one of the things that I think is very significant as we move into this week, we will, of course, see a lot of things related to the death of George Floyd. Moving into this week, it will be 1 year.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, I've kind of been moving through this process of from Ahmaud Arbery's, or really from Trayvon Martin's murder, that date, to the date of George Floyd's murder. I think it's a time for us. It's really a sacred time for me personally, and I've kind of been moving through a grief experience. But I recognize that this may bring up a lot of things from last year. That video may resurface.
Yes.
And so this is where we get into why we have to talk about mental health challenges, right? And minding our peace, right? And so I encourage you to do something that's beneficial, right? Do something that's constructive, as we want to honor their memories and know that these beautiful souls have not died in vain. And of course, they are our ancestors. It's important that we use the resources that we have. And so this is why we also are continuing to share the resources for NYC Well, which you may not need it, but it's also great to know that it exists,
Right,
so you
just
can
have
share
it as
it
a
with
resource.
someone else, right? And when you go there to NYC Well, to the site, there's also the Thrive Learning Center, which has beautiful information talking about depression and supporting you in understanding what you may be feeling and understanding that it's natural and normal, and you can receive help. And thank God, as New Yorkers, we have so many free resources like NYC Well. Additionally, there is the COVID-related emotional support line. This is very important. I was out and about yesterday, and it's beautiful to see the city is waking up and people are out and about, and that's true. And that's the narrative that you're going to be hearing now. There are also people that are still moving through financial difficulties related to COVID. There are also people that are family members are transitioning, or that are in the hospital themselves or just coming out. I read a story yesterday about a brother in California. He just was released from the hospital days ago after being in the hospital for 7 months, right? He's meeting his newborn child for the first time. So we recognize that There's a lot of different narratives going on, but more importantly, there's support here. So please don't feel like, everybody's happy and joyous and, free, but I'm not feeling that, right? And so you absolutely have support. It's absolutely normal. It's absolutely okay. And if this resource is not something that you need, screenshot it, right? And it's something that you can pass on to a friend or family member.
Yes, yes.
We are a church that believes in prayer. We are a church that is founded on prayer. And in the early days, it was this phone number before we ever opened. It was this phone number that was our daily prayer call line. And so we use this number vibrationally because it literally represents the roots of CSC. And so every morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we come together in prayer.
Every Wednesday morning.
I'm sorry, every Wednesday morning. At 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's what you see on your screen, right? Not what I'm saying. We come together in prayer. I share a reading on that day, and either PY, myself, or one of our prayer champions leads the prayer on that Wednesday morning. That prayer is also recorded, so you can access the most recent prayer anytime, 24/7. Just use the playback number you see here on your screen, enter the access code, and then wait, and the most recent prayer will pray. This is always a wonderful, wonderful resource. Prayer is effective, and prayer is always available here at CSC. Now, we know you may also have a prayer request. So you can send that prayer request to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. Know that as prayer champions, we are holding the high watch. We are holding the highest vibration. We are knowing the truth with and for you, for this community and everyone that is connected to CSC. And so when you send that prayer request, know that it is done. Right? When you send that prayer request, live in the space and the awareness that you are releasing this burden. We talked about that last week. I cast the burden on the mind of God and I go free. You're releasing the burden and you go free. And by living in the awareness of I go free, you are now making room to receive the answer, making room to receive insight, making room to receive direction, making room to receive guidance, making room to look for that next step that was maybe there all the time, right? And so this is what we do as we submit prayer requests. Neither I nor our prayer champions or Pastor Yolanda, we are not special, right? In terms of, please don't send the prayer request because you think we have some special connection to God and can, quote, get a prayer through when other people can't. But know that we're praying with you. With you. Very important. We are in our series. This is a reminder for everyone. We are in our series, We Got Game. We're studying the book, The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. I got that right this time.
Yes, you did.
And so we're not doing a traditional service, music, sermon, etc. And we have a few more weeks left in this masterclass series. If you don't have the book, please get it. You'll see there's a link in the post here on Facebook or YouTube where you can access it on Amazon. Get any version you want. It's in public domain, so there are a bunch of different copies or a bunch of different versions, but it's the same copy, right? Most importantly, read it, and please, just week to week, right? Read one chapter at a time. That's what we're doing. Don't try to devour the whole text. If you feel like you have the need for more, reread the chapter you just read or go back to the beginning, right? It's very important. And I say that because, not just to be a stickler, but because I recognize something about how our society exists right now, right? And there's beautiful parts of that in terms of how quickly and easily we have access to things and we consume stuff, right? We binge watch, 11 seasons of a show like over a weekend, right?
I feel seen.
Right.
No. we do that quite
right.
frequently.
You know what I'm saying? We do that, right? And real talk, right? There have been times we'll start watching a new show knowing we need to be going to sleep, and it's like, we'll look at each other and be like, one more, right? So I recognize that, right? And when it's something that you enjoy, but I also recognize that I wake up the next morning and it was like, I really didn't need to stay up and watch that. Or sometimes we have to go back and rewatch the episode because I slept. I kept falling asleep on it and waking up. acting like I was watching it, right? So it's actually one of the most loving and beneficial things you can do for yourself, to just take it in pieces, manageable pieces.
Yeah, and when something resonates, just pause. Take that spiritual pause, I say, and just let it sink in and go back and say, why does this resonate with me? What is it pointing me towards? Where is that healing happening right now within me?
Yeah.
All of that can happen just by reading, slowing down.
Yeah.
We've been trained to hustle and grind and go too fast. And what we're saying is, we want you to absorb the truth.
Yes.
We want you to absorb it, integrate it, and then live it.
Absolutely. 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 So we'll get to the class later, but please, if you don't have the book yet, go get it. All right. And now it is time for meditation and PY.
Yes, we talk quite frequently, and as I just said, absorbing the truth. I often say that you can have read every sacred text, ancient and modern, and if you don't have the real experience of God for yourself, knowing it, feeling it for yourself, you have information, and that's great. But what we want you to do is have a lived experience of your connection with God, a connection that can never be severed. No matter what is happening in your world, in your experience, God is there. God lives, moves, and has its being in you. And as we know this, as we allow this to be the truth of our experience, we can say, I'm connected to God, and all is well. And that's exactly what we've been doing this month. Our centering thought, our affirmative thought this month, those three words, all is well. All is well in God's mind, all is well in my mind. Does that mean that things are not happening in my experience? No. But it means that I'm connected to the answers. I'm connected to that overview perspective, that bird's eye view that sees it all as well, that can provide answers, solutions, clarity, and peace. And so we're affirming this truth that all is well this month. So let's do that. Let's practice the vibration, the experience of all is well. So go ahead. Look around your space where you find yourselves, whether you are seated upright, in a chair, on a sofa, in your bed. Allow your shoulders to relax over the hips, and allow the arms to rest nice and easy down on the tops of the thighs. And if you choose, you can keep the palms planted, or turn the palms up to receive more insight, more guidance, more of whatever it is you need. But we're all coming to this place of all is well, swimming in it, breathing in it, and knowing it as we move out in our day. So, from this place of knowing, from this place and environment of safety, certainty, and security, let's close our eyes. And as we do so, that subtle signal enters our mind and our physiology to begin the process of relaxation, to begin the process of realignment, to begin the process of slowing the breath, connecting the mind and the heart to love, to truth, to ease. So, right where you are with your eyes closed, settle in and begin to notice the breath now. And whether that breath is deep, elongated breath, or what appears to be shallow breath, we make no judgment of the breath. We honor the fact that wherever it is, wherever we are, God is, and all is well. A few rounds of noticing here. Each round, take us deeper Each round connects us more to love. And each round signals the next round of this eternal connection. Beautiful. So let's breathe together now, bringing our consciousness, our focus, and our attention to the low belly. If you choose, put the hand on the low belly. Gently inhale and expand the low belly. Inhale. Expanding the low belly for a count of 4. Hold it there for a count of 4. Open the mouth, relax the jaw, and release. Count of 4. Again, expanding the low belly, count of 4. Hold it there. Relax, open the jaw, and side out, count of 4. Expanding the breath, expanding the belly, inhale. Now up through the rib cage. Hold it there. Expanding the sides and the front and the back of the body. Relax the jaw, side out. Again, inhale. Count of 4, slowing it down, making room, noticing breath and connection. And sigh it out. Now sending that breath even deeper and expanding in through the low belly, up through the rib cage, and now up through the heart chakra, center of the chest. Creating a new set point, new reality, new experience of God. Open the mouth and sigh it out. Beautiful. Inhale, in and up, nice and easy, nice and slow, to the heart, across the chest, across the back. And release into all is well. We're going to take a few rounds here to practice elongated breath in through the low belly, up through the rib cage, up to the heart, pausing for a count of 4. This time, close the lips and exhale through the nose. And as we slow the breath down, we relax the body. We make room for more all is well, more ease. Let's take a few rounds here, in and out through the nose. Noticing what it feels like to open, expand, and release. Noticing what it feels like to breathe in all is well. Feel it moving through our body. And the release. Couple more rounds. Where the breath is, God is. Where the breath is, ease is. And where the breath is, we know that all is well. Last round. You may notice a slight opening and relaxation in the shoulders. Give it permission now. Beautiful, everyone. Now let's send that energy, that sensation into the feet. Maybe you raise the heels if the feet are planted. Maybe you wiggle the toes. Stop the movement, surrender the feet. Relax the feet as if they are dipping into nice cool pool. All is well. Sending that energy up the ankles. Relax the ankles. Energy flows across the shins and the calves. We just lower the shins and the calves in that pool of all is well and may relax. Energy flows across the knees. We bend and align and allow. Relax the knees. Energy now flows across the tops of the thighs, the hamstrings, the glutes. If we notice any tension there now, we surrender, we relax into all is well, sinking more deeply, relaxing the muscles more, and making more room for God. Energy gathered there, we send it to the hips. Relax the hip sockets. Let that joy flow fully and freely. And now energy gathered at the base of the spine. We imagine every chakra available. And where it's been out of alignment, we now allow the energy of all is well to balance as we make the ascension. Up, 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 and now out the crown of our head. We no longer block all is well. We allow it to balance and flow freely. From the root to the crown, all the way up now. And as that energy is gathered above us all, we are connected. Where we may be alone in our home, we are connected eternally to each other, to God, and more importantly, to all is well. We give permission now for this energy to flow back down through our crown. Making contact, opening and balancing our third eye, flowing down, speaking words of truth. Across our shoulders, they relax and the energy flows down our arms, out our fingertips. And in our mind and in our experience, we are completely open. Open to all is well. Open to ease. And now, if you notice anywhere in your body that you still feel a slight holding, a gripping, a concern, a tension, send this loving breath and flow there now. And give it permission to relax. If the palms are turned down, you can turn them up or you can leave them so that you ground, or if you need, open to receive more. As we prepare for our silent time, I will monitor. You just allow the flow of God. And if the mind wanders, it is perfectly okay. It is doing what it's designed to do. We decide, we choose to bring it back to this thought. Whenever we notice, we just affirm, all is well. All is well in my mind. All is well in my body. All is well in my world right here and now. The next time you hear my voice, it will be to bring you back. But for now, take this inward journey. Enjoy it. Allow it to be. Because all is well, right here and right now. With our eyes still closed, we notice the depth of our peace. We notice any moments of quiet that we received. And we notice that vibration of all is well is activated now. With our eyes closed, we just allow it to be the truth and allow it to sink in. We absorb it more and more and more. With our eyes still closed, we take a mental picture of what it feels like to have quiet, to be connected to God, and to know all is well. Sometimes the moment we affirm all is well, the mind will begin to gather evidence of why it is not true. It's an old habit that we are willing and able to let go of. We breathe. We may close our eyes and remember this moment, this reset of our physiology, this alignment with the truth that we gave ourselves. And so, let's slowly begin to make our way back. No hurry. Let's plant the palms if they are turned up. Turn them down, tops of the thighs. Just breathing in the connection between palm and thighs. And now let's gently move the palms across the thighs. Just waking them nice and easy. Maybe the knees, slight bend. Maybe we take in the shins and the calves. We feel that connection, that waking. Just breathing nice and easy. Elongating the breath and just noticing. As we lovingly wake our body, sometimes we wake in a rush. There is no rush here in this energy of all is well. Last time here. And let's stop the movement now. Inhale and draw the shoulders up by the ears. Allow the shoulders to relax back and down as you release the breath. Inhale, drawing your shoulders up by the ears. Exhale as the shoulders go back and down. Last time, inhale. Shoulders up by the ears. Nice gentle stretch. Back as we release the breath and down. Bring the palms together at heart center. Nice gentle touch of the thumbs into the sternum. No pressing, just pausing, noticing the heart has been beating this whole time. We've been connected this whole time to each other and to the energy of all as well. Let's bow the chin towards the fingertips. Slight elongation of the spine, the neck. Noticing the breath flowing across the fingertips. All this pausing and noticing makes us present and in the vibration of all as well. Gently flutter the eyes open. Taking in a point in front of you on the floor. Nice soft drishti, nice soft gaze. No strain on the eyes, no strain in our experience, no strain in our world. As we bow, we remember that we could not be more loved, more worthy, more held in the perfect vibration and arms of love. Inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze. Release the breath. Namaste.
Yes, yes. Thank you, PY.
You are welcome.
So we are in week 7 of the Game of Life and How to Play It. We're going to look at the chapter titled Love today. Again, for those of you, if you may just be joining us, we are studying the Game of Life and How to Play It. If you don't have the book, you should see the link in this post here on Facebook or YouTube. And of course, you can go back and catch up on all of the previous lessons when it's convenient for you. But we're going to dig in. We're going to move in. This is a good chapter. There's some delicious things here. So let's tap in. All right. So Florence Scovel Shinn actually she does a lot in this chapter. She quotes a lot of things in this chapter.
Yeah.
And so I'll give you some of those reference points and where you can read and check out some of these things. Every human on this planet is taking their initiation in love. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another, right? Quoting the words of Jesus the Christ. Upinski states in Tertium Organum that love is a cosmic phenomenon and opens to humanity, or opens to man, this is his quote, the fourth dimensional world, the world of the wondrous. Now, if you're interested, because this is a powerful text, there's a link here. You can go to sacredtext.com and you can read the whole this text. One of the things I find interesting, if you just read the introduction to this text, was written in 1922. This introduction, the foreword, really lays out some beautiful things and really underscores why Florence Scovel Shinn quoted this piece. And why it is of particular interest to those of us who are spiritually minded, metaphysically minded, etc. This idea of the world of the wondrous. Right? Real love is selfless and free from fear. Stop, take a breath. That's a whole sermon.
Yes.
Real love is selfless and free from fear. It's interesting because a lot of times we are selfless in love, we sacrifice in love because we are full of fear. Right? And so that's why we think that we're operating in real love, because it's like, oh, I'm being selfless, right? But what is motivating your so-called selflessness?
Right. And this idea of selfless, what it's pointing to is this idea of the one mind.
Union.
It's pointing to union.
Right.
And when we're in fear, we're not connected to the source. We're not connected to answers. Selfless meaning connected to the one mind. There's no sense of my ego nature driving my behavior. There's no sense of my thoughts about this experience. I'm connected to the truth, to the answers, and therefore I could be free of fear.
Right. Right.
So it's not the traditional, first of all, idea about love. And it's not this idea of selflessness, self-sacrificingness, okay? So that proves that I am loving. Usually when we're doing that, it's because we feel unworthy of love, and so we do all of these things. This is not what this is.
Right. It pours itself out upon the object of its affection without demanding any return. Its joy is in the joy of giving. Love is God in manifestation and the strongest magnetic force in the universe. Pure, unselfish love draws to itself its own. It does not need to seek or demand. Scarcely anyone has the faintest conception of real love. I woke up this morning thinking about it. I didn't make the connection until this morning. We watched a wonderful, funny, feel-good romantic comedy the other night, Love, Weddings, and Other Disasters. Diane Keaton and Jeremy Irons. Funny movie. Check it out. It's on Stars, or you can rent it on your favorite streaming service. But there's a busker that sings this wonderful song, Elle King. And she talks about it. She says, love is perfect, love is pure. We screw it up for sure. Don't blame love. The blame is on us, right? And what she was getting at in that wonderful song is this very thing, right? That scarcely anyone has the faintest conception of love. And unfortunately, so many of our love songs and love poetry is written about love. Love hurts. Love did me wrong again, right? Love, didn't show up, all of those things.
Love should have brought you home last night.
Right. Hey, hello.
Hey.
Right. And so we recognize that actually we're not celebrating real love. There's a faint understanding of what real love is. And so, like I said, this paragraph alone, right, these sentences it's a whole sermon, a whole thing that can be meditated on and really start to tap into. Not just, and this is not about romance, right?
See, that's the other part of it.
Because you can look at it, this will heal your romantic relationships and your dating life, absolutely. But it's in love everywhere, because then it's, okay, well, what does real love look like in our relationship to the planet and to nature? What does real love look like when I'm interacting with my children and raising my children?
What does the real love look like in relationship to myself? This idea, unselfish love draws to itself its own. It has to, because it's connected. It draws itself. It draws what it already is, right? It makes perfect sense the way she's laying it out here.
Yeah. It does not need to seek or demand.
Right.
These are the things that unfortunately we're taught to do and love. I was also reminded, I was thinking about in some of my early dating relationships, when we got into an argument, I was like, oh, this relationship is real.
Yeah.
Because I was raised, soap operas were playing, you see all of these examples of what what relationships look like and the passion and all of that stuff. And so it's like, oh, now I'm in a real relationship. It's like, no.
Now you're in a real drama.
Right.
Now you are fulfilling a reality reality TV show.
Right. So we go on. Humanity is selfish, tyrannical, or fearful in their affections, thereby thereby losing the thing we love. Jealousy is the worst enemy of love, for the imagination runs riot, seeing the loved one attracted to another, and invariably these fears objectify if they are not neutralized. Okay, so she gives us a story. For example, a woman came to me in deep distress. The man she loved had left her for other women and said he never intended to marry her. She was torn with jealousy and resentment, and said she hoped he would suffer as he had made her suffer, and added, "How could he leave me when I loved him so much?" I replied, "You're not loving that man. You're hating him," and added, "You can never receive what you have never given. Give a perfect love and you will receive a perfect love. Perfect yourself on this man. Give him a perfect, unselfish love, demanding nothing in return. Do not criticize or condemn, and bless him wherever he is." She replied, "No, I won't bless him unless I know where he is." "Well," I said, "that is not real love. When you send out real love will return to you either from this man or his equivalent. For if this man is not the divine selection, you will not want him. As you are one with God, you are one with the love which belongs to you by divine right."
Yeah, we need to stop there because we think we're giving perfect love and we're giving fear-based love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're giving because we're afraid if we don't give. We're giving because we think that we won't find. All of those reasons motivate our behavior in such a way that it is detrimental to us, to the one we supposedly love, and to the relationship. I love how she says, "What is yours?" She always says that, by
So
divine
important.
selection. Because then you're not stuck in that place. If this person is causing you to believe in sacrifice, if this person is saying, "I love you if you do these things," then you know that person is not operating in the vibration of
Right.
love.
Right.
Right? And we have to be honest about that, what we've been doing. I know I've been guilty of this stuff,
Real talk. Right.
you know.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good when I was saying it. It didn't feel good when I was feeling it. It didn't feel good even times when I thought it was supposed to be feeling good. So if that's the feeling tone, what could come of that but, disaster, dis-ease, disharmony?
And this is so very important, and we've said this in other stories that she shared, right? This is not a story to then share how you get your lover back, right? It's designed to teach us about what real love is and how we must operate in real love, and learn to operate in real love in all circumstances, right? So, right, the end of the story, several months passed, and matters remained about the same, but she was working conscientiously with herself. I said, when you are no longer disturbed by this cruelty, he will cease to be cruel as you're attracting it through your own emotions.
Okay,
right?
let's stop there. He could have been cruel. His behavior could have been interpreted as cruel. But I'm not going to hold on to that behavior. Does that mean I'm not upset about it? Of course not. Does that mean it didn't cause me to feel harm? No.
Right.
But what it's saying here, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to do whatever I need to do so that I'm no longer bound to his cruelty.
Right. Right. And this is important in this context because remember, he was gone.
Yeah. He
Right.
wasn't even there. He's still cruel.
Right. Right. And so she was living in the experience and the angst of that, and the stress and the tightness of it. Right. But he literally was not there. Right. And so this is very important when we understand how sometimes when we hold on to an idea, and again, this goes back to why the equivalent, the divine selection, is so very important. Right? This is what can support us, and as PY always says, have a vision, hold it lightly. Right? This is how and why we can hold it lightly, because we know that even if I see or think I know what it is or what it looks like, there's a divine selection, and I always rest, relax, and rely on that thing coming into being, right? And so it'll be this or its equivalent.
And here's the other part. Sometimes when we're reflecting back on what is no longer, we think about all the things that we didn't say, should have said, all the times that we should have, that our intuition was saying leave, or our intuition was saying this is too much, you're giving too much, you're doing. And then we now want to reflect back on it as what we could have done or should have done. We didn't know, but we know now, and we have clarity so that we can take that clarity into the next relationship. Not the cruelty into the next relationship, the clarity into the next relationship.
Right. And so this next section There's some things that remind me of A Course in Miracles. But also, this is the Namaste paragraph, right?
I know, it's so funny what she
Then I
says.
told her of a brotherhood in India who never said good morning to each other. They used these words: I salute the divinity in you. They saluted the divinity in every man, every human, and in the wild animals in the jungle, and they were never harmed, for they saw only God in every living thing. I said, salute the divinity in this man, and say, I see your divine self only. I see you as God sees you, perfect, made in God's image and likeness, right? And so, from a Course in Miracles, right, we talk about this idea of we remain as God created us. But again, the teaching and the principle here is important. This idea of every encounter being a holy encounter. So then what is true is that you are always operating in truth. You have the opportunity, better yet, to see the divinity in each person, right? And that's how you can shift and start to shift and change the situation. You have to remember that even their actions, although they may be wrong, they may be cruel, all of those things, they're not operating from the truth of who and what they are, right? They have forgotten who and what they are, right? And are operating from a certain place. And so we have the opportunity to see aright.
And if you cannot see a right in that moment, like if you cannot see a right now, then you go back to the previous chapter and you cast that burden. Right? So we're kind of building, we're taking what she's teaching us and we're bringing it forward. We're honest with ourselves. I'm not at the place of clarity or ease or peace or whatever, or seeing the divinity. But I can cast that burden on the mind of God and go free and keep casting it till you can see the divinity.
She found she was becoming more poised and gradually losing her resentment. He was a captain, and she always called him the Cap. One day, she said, suddenly, God bless the Cap wherever he is. I replied, now that is real love. And when you have become a complete circle and are no longer disturbed by the situation, you have his love or attract its equivalent. I was moving at this time and did not have a telephone, so was out of touch with her for a few weeks when one morning I received a letter saying we are married. At the earliest opportunity, I paid her a call. My first words were, what happened? Oh, she exclaimed, a miracle. One day I woke up and all suffering had ceased. I saw him that evening and he asked me to marry him. We were married in about a week, and I have never seen a more devoted man. There's an old saying, no man is your enemy, no man is your friend, every man is your teacher. So one of the things that this reminds me of when I come back to this place of God bless Cap wherever he is, it reminds me of the Joseph story, right? Because Joseph experienced, awful things at the hands of his family, at the hands of his brother, right? And he moved through a situation which got him to this place of awareness where he was able to bless his brothers and bless his family. He had the perfect opportunity to do all to them that they had done to him, plus more, right? But of course, when they came to him in the midst of the famine, right, he forgave them, he blessed them. What some meant for evil, God meant and used for good, right? I don't condemn you, I forgive you, right? And of course, he supported them in having what they needed in the famine, or through the famine, so they could survive. So this is the principle underneath that, right? That place that we have to get to. It's really not about Cap, right? It's not about the other person, but it's important that, and I think she said, one day I woke up and all suffering had ceased, right? It wasn't one day I woke up and he stopped doing what he was doing. Right? Because that would be conditional.
Right. It's also this idea, she exclaimed, a miracle happened. The miracle,
perception.
the miracle wasn't him showing up, and the miracle was all suffering had ceased.
Within her own mind and consciousness.
Which opened up made her available to love. Again, him or his equivalent, right?
Very important. Very important. So we go on, right? No man is your enemy, no man is your friend, every man is your teacher. So One should become impersonal and learn what each person has to teach us. And soon we would learn our lessons and be free. Right? The woman's lover was teaching her selfless love, which every person sooner or later must learn. Okay? Now, I'm glad she says this in the very next sentence. Suffering is not necessary for humanity's development. Okay? Because we can read this and it's like, and this is classical problematic theology, and particularly for people of color, right? Particularly for the descendants of enslaved Africans. And this is a theology that permeates so much of the black experience of Christianity, right? If I suffer, I'll gain eternal life. And so that's the way that the suffering, and it could be, women can have interpreted the suffering the same way. LGBTQ folks have interpreted suffering the same way, right? That somehow my suffering is redemptive, right? And it's a good thing. Suffering is not necessary for us to learn these lessons. Suffering is not necessary for us to learn selfless love or real love.
Right.
Right?
Please just highlight, underscore, whatever you need to do.
Right.
Put it on a sticky. Put suffering is not required.
You can go back to a couple years back, December, I think it was 2019 or 2018, Silent Night of the Soul, right, where I talked about this idea of the dark night of the soul is not necessary. Eckhart Tolle writes about the same thing. It's not necessary. And he actually, in that piece where I quoted him, he talks about A Course in Miracles. He's like, study A Course in Miracles, right? You can go through the same radical transformation of mind that's necessary, right, to learn without having a dark night of the soul. Right. These things that outpicture as suffering, or we call the dark night of the soul, only happen because we've been ignoring all of the gentle knocks at the door of life and our life experience, sometimes for years, for decades. It's the only reason.
And so we've suffered so long that all we can do is release, surrender, let go. We have no other choice. And so we've made this false equivalent, this false association between suffering and receiving, between suffering and what it takes to surrender. You could surrender in this very moment. You could cast the burden in this very moment. Right? That's not required. We have been trained to believe that until I have suffered, until I have made a list of all the possible bad things that could happen and lived them, any good that comes to me is short-lived. That is not true.
No.
We've been blocking the good to make room for the suffering.
So suffering is not necessary for humanity's development as the result of violation of spiritual law, but few people seem able to rouse themselves from their soul sleep without it, right? So that's what it is, right? These things wake us up, right? But
To what's been happening all along.
right, but right? So it's some people you can just gently tap them, right, and they'll just wake right up. Other people you gotta like shake them, right, to get them to wake up, right? And so it's that kind of thing. When people are happy, they usually become selfish, and automatically the law of karma is set in action. Humanity often suffers loss through lack of appreciation, right? I lived that, right? I had a whole bunch of everything. But I came to the awareness of I wasn't in appreciation for it. Now, in this next story, or next few stories, she gives us some powerful examples, right? I knew a woman who had a very nice husband, but she said often, I don't care anything about being married, but that is nothing against my husband. I'm simply not interested in married life. She had other interests and scarcely remembered she had a husband. She only thought of him when she saw him. One day her husband told her he was in love with another woman and left. She came to me in distress and resentment. I replied, it's exactly what you spoke the word for. You didn't care anything about being married, so the subconscious worked to get you unmarried. She said, oh yes, I see. People get what they want and then feel very much hurt. She soon became in perfect harmony with the situation and knew they were both much happier apart. Now, this is interesting, and this context, I've actually seen this happen often with money. Oh, I don't really care much about money. Money doesn't really matter. No, money does matter, right? And when I say it matters, it's not necessarily the most important thing in the world, right? But money responds to the way we talk about it and think about it. Money is an absolutely neutral thing until we give it meaning. And so if we say money doesn't matter, then that thing that doesn't matter, starts to slip away, right? It slip out of your life because it doesn't matter.
Right. And if we're saying that to be spiritual, that money doesn't matter, the same result, right? It's not that money is just energy.
Right.
It's the meaning that you give it. It's what you do to receive it. It's all of those things that cause you distress. So it's just energy. But if you pretend it doesn't matter to be more spiritual, then you're not being honest. But you are activating the vibration. Okay, it doesn't matter. And if I have it or I don't.
Right. She goes on, and this is an interesting little section. When a woman becomes indifferent or critical and ceases to be an aspiration to her husband, he misses the stimulus of their early relationship and is restless and unhappy. And she goes on and tells the story. Now, I think in order to just modernize this a bit, this is true in all partnership, right? This is true in all partnership, romantic, business relationships. I've seen that happen amongst business partners, right? That, you can believe in each other, in a certain way. And then if that's lost, sometimes it's just from being busy in moving through the business. And of course, in any type of romantic relationship, when that thing is lost, that can shift and change the dynamic of the relationship, right? When anyone becomes indifferent or critical, ceases to be an inspiration to each other, right? Then they miss the stimulus of their early relationship and are restless and unhappy. You could even think about this even in the context of employment, right? Either your organization has shifted or changed in some way, the company you work with, right, or your direct boss or superiors or managers, right? And it's like, indifference, criticism comes in, right? It ceases to be an inspiration. What happens, right? Then productivity changes, right? People don't want to show up for work. People get restless and unhappy, right? People aren't engaged.
Right. And there's nothing that says you have to stay at an employer. But be honest about how you're showing up. And if you're noticing, then it's time to check in. I'm no longer happy here. Where would I be happier? Where would I be happy? What could I be doing? Right? It's not like, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I lost my job. Well, were you happy there? And were you showing up as if you were not happy?
Right. And so she tells this story, which is interesting. I like it for a specific reason. A man came to me dejected, miserable, and poor. His wife was interested in the science of numbers and had him read. It seems the report was not very favorable, for he said, "My wife says I'll never amount to anything because I am a 2. I replied, "This is some truth talk right here. I don't care what your number is. You are a perfect idea in divine mind, and we will demand the success and prosperity which are already planned for you by that infinite intelligence." Within a few weeks, he had a very fine position, and a year or two later, he achieved a brilliant success as a writer. No person is a success in business unless they love their work. The picture the artist paints for love or their art is the greatest work. The pot boiler is always something to live down. Pot boiler, what that word means, which is interesting, it's when you're creating based on fads, right? And particularly for creatives and artists, you know this, right? It's like, this is what everybody's listening to, so let me do this kind of song,
this way,
right? This is how everybody's dressing, so let me make these clothes, right? This is what everyone's buying, so let me create this, right? But that's always something, as she said, to be lived down, that we actually we shouldn't work that way, right? But the reason why I love this story, and it's something that I try to bring back anytime that we talk about astrology, when we're talking and looking at it on a personal level. I don't care what your zodiac sign is. You are a perfect idea in divine mind. And we can all demand the success and prosperity which is already planned for us by infinite intelligence, right? So often we create lack and limitation in our lives because, oh, I'm a Cancer, so ... right? I'm a Pisces, so ... I'm a Sagittarius, so ... I don't care what your number is. I don't care what month you were born in. Not saying that it has no meaning, right? But ultimate meaning, right? And this is what's beautiful. For me, the thing I love about the study of astrology is we're also learning the things that we get to grow through, right? Because we have access to all of the faculties of the entire zodiac. We have access to all the faculties, right? So it's important to understand that, and then you can tap into those energies.
Right, and these are characteristics and potentialities and possibility traits.
Right.
Right, and if you're honest with yourself and you're using it to not do something or to do something, then you're beholden to information on the page as opposed to the experience of your life and the decisions that you're making as a manifester, as a metaphysician, right? I know a lot of people, well, because this is what my sign is this and this is how I am. And I'm like, well, is that serving you? If it's not serving you, then it's not you.
Exactly, right. You are a perfect idea in divine mind, right? That's also true even when it comes to, dating, right? You think you know something about a sign because you dated one Gemini, right? Where Gemini sees, it's like, and then you could be totally cutting yourself off from your romantic blessing. You know what I'm saying? That was so churchy.
It was. That's why I'm laughing. Anyway,
but you know what I'm saying? Like, so you just really have to you have to remember these things. Remember these things. There's so many subtle ways that we start to practice lack and limitation, and we don't realize.
Right, that we paint ourselves into our sense of self, our selfishness, as opposed to opening up to the possibility. Right. There are things that are true about this sign. For me, but not everybody.
Exactly. No person can attract money, this is going back to where we were, if they despise it. Many people are kept in poverty by saying money means nothing to me, and I have contempt for people who have it. This is the reason so many artists are poor. Their contempt for money separates them from it. I remember hearing one artist say of another, he's no good as an artist, he has money in the bank. This attitude of mind, of course, separates humanity from their supply. We must be in harmony with a thing in order to attract it. Right? Money is God in manifestation, or money is God in action, as freedom from want and limitation, but it must always be kept in circulation and put to right uses. Hoarding and saving react with grim vengeance. This does not mean that we should not have houses and lots, stocks and bonds, for the barns of the righteous man shall be full. It means we should not hoard even the principal if an occasion arises when money is necessary. And letting it go out fearlessly and cheerfully, we open the way for more to come in. For God is our unfailing and inexhaustible supply. This is the spiritual attitude towards money, and the great bank of the universal never fails. Right, I encourage you can go to YouTube. It's on YouTube and Facebook. Probably easier to find on YouTube on our channel. Money is God in Action. Right, where we teach and talk even more about money and the power of money. But these very simple ideas, if you just tap in, we end up in the 4T Prosperity program in the class. We end up addressing this at some point, right? Understanding that. We have to have a certain attitude about money, right? That we're in harmony with it, that money is good, that money is God in action, it's God informed, just as everything is God informed, right? So this is not elevating money.
Right, that's the other piece. We're not elevating money.
Right?
And
everything is God informed.
Everything is God informed. And so, a lot of times some churches that talk about prosperity, they're elevating it above what it really is. We're not denying its usefulness. We're not denying the energy of it. We're not saying you shouldn't have it, but we're not also elevating it beyond what it is.
Right. And so one of the things that happens, I know so many people experience this, right? Where they're saving for a rainy day, right? Or just in case, right? hoarding and saving in that, well, actually, saving in that way is technically hoarding, right?
Right.
But again, it does not mean that we should not have houses, lots, and stocks and bonds
Or
and
be
savings.
saving for something.
Right, right. And so that's very important. When we're saving, we have to give this money a purpose. We have to give it a purpose, just like everything else in life. And this is what we're talking about. The principle applies everywhere, right? And so how we're thinking about money, and sometimes we may not know this except through our actions. We have to give it a purpose, and so then it will fulfill that purpose. It's happy to. It will comply. It wants to, right? And that includes the money that we give the purpose to grow, right? Whether it's in your 401k, whether it's other investments, right?
Yeah,
We're giving it purpose.
Right, and we talked about this. It's not that you shouldn't prepare for your
Yeah.
golden years, but it's the energy under what you're doing. And if you're afraid that there's not going to be anyone to take care of you, and therefore you need to do this. If you're afraid there's not going to be enough, and therefore you're doing, that's not the energy we're talking about.
Right? And so she goes on, she talks about an old film, well, old to us. We see an example of hoarding in the film production of Greed. The woman won $5,000 in a lottery, but would not spend it. She hoarded and saved, let her husband suffer and starve, and eventually she scrubbed floors for a living. She loved the money itself and put it above everything. And one night she was murdered and the money taken from her. This is an example of where love of money is the root of all evil. Somebody is hearing this for the first time today. You may have heard the love of money is the root of all evil. That is never what the text has said. The text is clear. The love of money is the root of all evil. And what that means, this is again what we're saying, placing money above anything else, right? We don't demote money in the sense of, oh, it's not that important and then I don't want to talk about it, or sometimes we can repress it and don't want to think about it, don't want to look, right? There's that.
Or resent those that have it.
Right. But at the same time, the love of money, if money is the most important thing above everything else.
So much so that you just constrict the little bit that you have.
Right. And you're someone you love or the loved ones in your life are suffering and starving. You're like,
but this $5,000 though. I know you're hungry, but this $5,000 though. One day, we're going to use this. And you're like, wait a minute, we need this now.
Right, right. Money in itself is good and beneficial, right? Think about that, right? And I've heard some people say, I think it was Robert Kiyosaki that says, the lack of money is the root of all evil, right?
Well, and if you think about that, right, what would you do if you don't have money?
Right.
That's the evil part, what people do when they don't have it.
Right, or think they don't have enough.
Or think they don't have enough,
right?
Or try to hold on to it.
Exactly, right? Or think somebody's going to take it from them because there's not enough, right? That's where all of the destructive things, right? And she goes, but used for destructive purposes, hoarded and saved, or considered more important than love, brings dis-ease and disaster and the loss of the money itself, right? And so we're just reiterating, it's all right here in the text, but I think it's so important that we highlight it, right? Considered more important than love.
Right, that means you're separating something apart from all that is. You're separating it apart from everything that is unified, that is connected. Right. And you're making it an other. You're making it a God, as opposed to coming from God, being one with God.
And here's the other piece where it gets interesting. Because if we understand that all things are God in form, and that includes money, right, then you can use the lens of money to really understand what your relationship with God is, right? And at the same time, you can use your perceptions about God and your thoughts about God to demonstrate to you what you really think and feel about money.
Absolutely.
Right? I can only talk about what I know, right? I've mentioned from time to time, but the coach that I worked with for quite a period of time, the whole lens was money. Like, that's where we came in, and that's where what I thought I was going to be working on, and we did. And I healed so much of my money story and increased my income year in and year out, and powerful things, right? But that lens of money is what broke so many things open, right? Because it was all interrelated. Everything is one thing in truth, in truth, right? So you may think that you love money or, oh, I have a good relationship with money. But if we start talking about your God concept and you think that God is shaming you or God is a God that punishes and you may still have some of those old beliefs about God, that's showing up in your money story as well, right? And vice versa. And vice versa, right? Let's keep going on here. Follow the path of love and all things are added, for God is love and God is supply. Think about that for a second. God is love and God is supply.
There you go.
Love would have to be supply. Provides. Follow the path of selfishness and greed, and the supply vanishes, or we are separated from it. Why? Because we're separating ourselves from God.
From love.
From love, right. For example, I knew the case of a very rich woman who hoarded her income. She rarely gave anything away, but bought and bought and bought things for herself. She was very fond of necklaces, and a friend once asked her how many she possessed. She replied, 67. She bought them and put them away carefully, wrapped in the tissue paper. Had she used the necklaces, it would have been quite legitimate, but she was violating the law of use. Her closets were filled with clothes she never wore and jewels which never saw the light. The woman's arms were gradually becoming paralyzed from holding on to things, and eventually she was considered incapable of looking after her affairs, and her wealth was handed over to others to manage. The law of use. There is, having things is wonderful, right? Having things is wonderful, but we must make use of those things, right? And so we can check in with ourselves to, you know, it may be something that you loved and something that you enjoyed, and it's like, oh, I'm not making use of it, right? Let me keep this space open. Let me keep this space clear.
Well, and here's the other thing. The moment that you become aware that you are out of alignment with whatever the law is the moment of choice. That you can shift and change what you were previously doing and move in the direction of love, move towards unity, move towards abundance, move towards, in her case, letting go of what no longer was serving her, or use what you have. It's not a time to judge yourself if you are, quote unquote, in violation of the law.
Right.
God ain't gonna put you in jail for
Right.
being in violation of the law. Right? The laws are there to support you living in a certain way,
Right.
not to punish you because you're not. Once you become aware, that's the choice point. Change, do something differently. How can I now be in alignment with the law? How can I use the law? How can I allow the law to dictate how I operate, interact with other people? Not, oh, I've been in violation of the law, and so I'm in violation of God. No. The laws are there to support you in living your life a certain way. They're the facts. This is how you can live. If you're not, cool. Forgive yourself and set yourself free. Now live according to law.
Yep. So humanity in ignorance of the law brings about our own destruction. A better word there for today would just be unwanted experiences. Right? It's not destruction in the sense of, you know, God is going to destroy your life and
Right.
take away everything you ever loved, like Job. Right? It's not destruction in that sense, right? But there's going to be unwanted things.
Cause and
right?
effect.
Yeah. Huh? Right.
That's
We
why
talked about
that's
that.
why we have laws.
Right.
So that we understand them. We understand if we do this, this happens. If we do this, this happens. Right? Wanted and unwanted.
Right? All dis-ease, all unhappiness comes from the violation of the law of love. Humanity's boomerangs of hate, resentment, and criticism come back, laden with sickness and sorrow. Love seems almost a lost art, but the person with the knowledge of spiritual law knows it must be regained, for without it, we have become as sounding brass and tinkling cymbals. She starts to allude to a bunch of scripture and a bunch of verses here. So I'll give you this one. You may know the brilliant, powerful section on love. If I speak in the tongues of men and angels, mortals and angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or clanging cymbal. 1 Corinthians 13, and of course we have love is patient, love is kind, right? So as it's the chapter on love, she's making that connection, right? Referencing back to that when we're not operating in love. This is like those words that are attributed to Paul. For example, I had a student who came to me month after month to clean her consciousness of resentment. After a while, she arrived at a point where she resented only one woman, but that one woman kept her busy. Little by little, she became poised and harmonious, and one day, all resentment was wiped out. Now, I love all of the little things that are here in the text. Because she says, I have a student who came to me month after month to clean her consciousness of resentment. Some of us think we do one forgiveness worksheet and that should be enough. Right? This is a process. This is a process. And many times we have deep unforgiveness, we have deep resentments from things that have taken place in our life, and we have to bring ourselves to it over and over. The clearing will happen, though. I love this, right? She arrived to a point where there was only one person left.
Yeah, she's like, I was about to say something.
Only one person left. Okay.
All of us got at least one person.
And little by little, she became poised and harmonious, and one day all resentment was wiped out. She came in radiant and exclaimed, "You can't understand how I feel." The woman said something to me, and instead of being furious, I was loving and kind, and she apologized and was perfectly lovely to me. No one can understand the marvelous lightness I feel within. Love and goodwill are invaluable in business, right? For example, a woman came to me complaining of her employer. She said she was cold and critical and knew she did not want her in the position. Well, I replied, salute the divinity in the woman and see her as love. She said, I can't. She's a marble woman, right? There's another. We don't use that phrase today.
I love these old phrases, though. They
But,
crack me up.
marble, we say someone has lost their marbles, right? She's a marble woman, but also she's hardened.
Hard.
Right? Like marble,
Just
right?
cold.
Right.
She won't budge. Yeah.
I answered you, remember the story of the sculptor who asked for a certain piece of marble. He was asked why he wanted it, and he replied, because there's an angel in the marble, and out of it he produced a wonderful work of art. Go ahead.
I love Florence. She does not let anybody get away with believing a thought that is not serving them. Oh, that's what you think? Well, this is what I'm going to tell you.
She said, very well, I'll try it. A week later, she came back and said, I did what you told me, and now the woman is very kind to me and took me out in her car. Right? And so this is something, and I say this so often, right? I just said it earlier. I can say this because I've lived it, right? When you can be in an experience with someone that you know or you feel that there's no way that you could ever, have harmony. But your willingness, right, to see the divinity in this person, your willingness to recognize that I'm the only one that's holding the resentment. I'm the one over here feeling all of these emotions and feelings and judgments, right? And then what happens when we do our internal work is just profound and powerful and beautiful.
I'm over here calling her marble, but I'm holding on.
Right.
Hello, somebody.
Right. People are sometimes filled with remorse for having done someone an unkindness, perhaps years ago. If the wrong cannot be righted, its effect can be neutralized by doing someone a kindness in the present. This one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before. I'm not sure why she threw this scripture in, but this is Paul. This is the press toward the mark verse, right? Philippians 3:12 through 16, right? And actually, what the writer, this is attributed to Paul. What he's talking about is this idea of, it says, not that I have already obtained this or have already reached the goal, but I press on to make it my own, right? Because of this power of Christ within me. I do not consider that I have made it my own, but this one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining or reaching forward to what lies ahead, I press toward the goal. So this is important, right? Forgetting what's behind. So we can't continue to live in the past. We have all made mistakes, and we all will make mistakes. But what she's saying is you can do someone a kindness in the present. This can even be powerful if you're in the 12-step program, and you're getting to this point of needing to make amends. Some of those people may not be here anymore, right? But you can do a kindness in the present in this same idea of reaching unto those things which are before. I'm not going to keep myself in the past and hold on to, well, this is the type of person that I was. Here in the present, who am I being? How am I being? How am I showing up?
Right. And this reaching is not, it's moving beyond your comfort. Like a lot of times people are like straining to forgive somebody. They just, you're not there yet. But you can gradually extend and extend and extend.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Until you're really available to forgive.
Right.
You can keep saying, I want to, I'm willing to, I'm willing to, I'm willing to.
Right. Right. And what the writer there was talking about, of course, this is the Greco-Roman world, right? Where the Olympics originated. And so that idea of press toward the mark was literally, he was pointing to, right, racers, the runners in a race, right? And that idea of reaching to cross the finish line.
Right, you see the finish line,
right.
and you just got that little extra.
Right.
Right, it ain't like, you know?
And so that's what he was talking about. It's not about stress or strain in any sense of how we can live with stress or strain, but it is that idea of there's the finish line.
I
right?
see it.
And so there's a photo finish, and we know all runners do it, right? They lean forward. Doesn't matter how close or how far, because I've watched that, right? Runners that know they have everybody beat, they still lean forward, right? So that's what that's about, right? Sorrow, regret, and remorse tear down the cells of the body and poison the atmosphere of the individual. A woman said to me in deep sorrow, treat me to be happy and joyous, for my sorrow makes me so irritable with the members of my family that I keep making more karma. This is, as we have understood, cause and effect, right? We already talked about karma in the previous chapters, right? So I keep creating more cause and effect. I was asked to treat a woman who was mourning for her daughter. I denied all belief in loss and separation and affirmed that God was the woman's joy, love, and peace.
And here, I want to make sure we understand there's nothing wrong with mourning the loss of your child. What she's doing is holding the vibration that as this woman moves through her grief, the truth is still there the whole time.
Right.
She's holding the truth for her.
Right.
Okay, I could not let anyone think that, oh, I just need to go and have the prayer champions pray over my grief and my mourning, and it's gone. That's not what it's talking about.
Right.
It's, I can still hold the truth for you, even though you're moving through a process.
Right, right. And unfortunately, this is one of the unfortunate things about some of the stories, the anecdotal stories that she shares. We don't know all of the history, right? We don't know how long this was going on. Was she asked by the woman, right? Is this something that the woman was like, this is just, I'm in anguish, right? I can't get out of bed. I can't go to work, right? So we don't have any of that information, right? So it is important to underscore, right, that there's nothing wrong with being in mourning, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And one other thing I want to say, you might have noticed what PG's been doing. You'll see his little notes throughout and I have them in mine as well. We stop. We don't just think we know. We go back to the scripture. We make sure that it makes sense given what we're talking about. We make sure we integrate it. This is how you learn how to dissect and live from a text. It's not, right? Or if there's a word you don't understand, you pause. And you're like, why would she use that word? It's so important that you're understanding how to read the text.
Excuse me.
Right? With that kind of a lens.
The woman gained her poise at once, but sent word by her son not to treat any longer because she was so happy it wasn't respectable. So mortal mind loves to hang on to its griefs and regrets. I knew a woman who went about bragging of her troubles, so of course, she always had something to brag about. The old idea was if a woman did not worry about her children, she was not a good mother. Now we know that mother fear is responsible for many of the diseases and accidents which come into the lives of children. And I highlighted that because we could name that in so many other ways, right? Mother fear, right? Or, just parent fear, or, you may be someone who's caring for your older parents, and now it's a child fear, right? Or
Caregiver fear.
Caregiver fear, right? Seasoned citizen fear, right? All of these things, all of these things. We get to understand that there's a way to live that is aware of what's going on, but not living in a place where we're starting to, as she goes on, she says, for fear pictures vividly the dis-ease or situation feared, and these pictures objectify if not neutralize.
Right. It's we begin to argue for our limitations.
Right.
We begin to seek out evidence of what is wrong. Right?
Right. Happy is the mother who can say sincerely that she puts her child in God's hands and knows therefore that she, he, they are divinely protected, right? And so, and again, that's with everything. Even we've been talking about money, thinking about your money, right? You could be so scared of, because identity theft and this, that, and the other, and folk taking credit card numbers, and right. Happy is the person who can sincerely say, I put all of my finances, all of my investments, all of my bank accounts in God's hands and know that it's divinely protected. Happy is the lover that can say, partner, I put my lover, my partner, my spouse in God's hands and I know that they're divinely protected. Right? Your business idea. Hello. Right? You just have an idea about, I don't want to tell nobody because they're going to steal it, people. Right?
Right. And that's different from the hush your mouth principle.
Yeah, I'm not talking about hush your mouth principle. Yeah. Right?
This is, I'm afraid someone's going to take what I have.
Right. Because you're picturing vividly the situation. And then those pictures, if impressed long enough and thought on long enough, must objectify by law. For example, a woman awoke suddenly in the night, feeling her brother was in great danger. Instead of giving in to her fears, she commenced making statements of truth, saying humanity is a perfect idea in divine mind and is always in the right place. Therefore, my brother is in his right place and is divinely protected. The next day, she found that her brother had been in close proximity to an explosion in a mine, but had miraculously escaped. So, humanity is their brother's, sister's keeper in thought, and every person should know that the thing we love dwells in the secret place of the Most High and abides under the shadow of the Almighty. So again, she's quoting Psalm 91 here, right? This is NRSV, right? But you who live in the shelter of the Most High, who abide in the shadow of the Almighty, will say, the Lord is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust, right? And so that's taking that idea from Psalm 91. That's where her brother was living. Right,
and it's not saying that you pretend you're not having these thoughts. If you need to, you turn the thought over and bring yourself back to truth. Right?
She goes on further to quote that psalm, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. Right? So, again, Psalm 91. There we go. Right. And I love the psalm because it says, because you have made the Lord your refuge, right? Once you understand what this thing is that we call God and recognize that you're divinely protected, and made this thing your dwelling place where you live, no evil shall befall you, no scourge come near your tent. For it will command its angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Right? So you live in a knowing that you're protected. Perfect love casteth out fear. He that feareth is not made perfect in love, and love is the fulfilling of the law. Again, she's quoting more scriptures. Now we're in 1 John. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, for fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not reached perfection in love. And then love is the fulfilling of the law. This is Romans. She's all over us. Romans 13. And again, what this piece is talking about is beautiful. Owe no one anything except to love one another. For the one who loves one another has fulfilled the law. And then here's the depth teaching, and this is where the teachings of Jesus really transform things. The commandments, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not covet, and other commandments are summed up in this word: love your neighbor as yourself, right? Love does no wrong to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law, right? And this is why there are these, some people think they're syrupy sweet. Some people think they're woo-woo. When we talk about what the world needs now is love, sweet love. Because if we were operating out of real love,
connected,
it is the fulfillment of the law. we wouldn't need the rules. We wouldn't need the umpteen laws that we have all across this country, all across this world, to prevent people, to prevent people from doing things that are unlike love. Right? Love is the fulfilling of the law. Love your neighbor as yourself. Why? Because your neighbor is yourself. That's why it's selfless in that sense, right? In truth, right? Anything that I do for Yolanda or give to Yolanda, in truth, I'm also doing for and to myself, in truth, right?
Right.
So I don't see it as a thing of like, oh, I'm losing something, or again, sacrificing all those guys. No.
Yeah. It points to the idea we talked about in God Talk of having.
Mm-hmm.
When I give because I know I have, because I know I'm connected, because I know I'm connected to love and abundance. That's why and how I give. Not because I don't have enough. If I don't give, they ain't gonna love me back. I get where we get all of that conditions, those beliefs from, because our experiences in life have pointed in that direction. But now what we're doing is coming into alignment with the law of love and the law fulfilled as love.
Yep.
Good chapter.
Wonderful chapter. And so we will pick up the week after next in the next chapter, intuition or guidance. So use next week, use next Sunday to revisit these 7 classes, to catch up on what you may have missed, to catch up on the reading. Again, don't go ahead, but by all means, go back to the beginning and read through again and see things you may not have seen before. I can't count how many times I've read this text, and it's still fresh, it's still new, it's still exciting. And it's a powerful, powerful reminder of these principles, how they work. And then, of course, we pray that we are really supporting you all in applying these now through a modern lens, and through some more modern context and examples. But I love Florence Scovel-Chin.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Powerful woman in truth. And so it's time for giving. We'll go there, right? It's time for giving.
I love all of this technology. This is great.
Awesome. And so if you would like to give or haven't already given, it's very easy to do. Just go to celebrationsc.org/give and give what feels good, or you can text your giving amount 347-744-9500. And we always say give what feels good because we understand the principle, right? That it's what's behind your giving that matters, right? You can't manipulate your way into giving of like, oh, well, if I give, it's multiplied, so let me give $50, let me give $1,000 so it can be multiplied.
Yeah.
But behind that is the energy of manipulation,
Right.
and probably fear and lack, because you don't have enough, so that's why you're trying to manipulate the universe into giving you more, right? It's not how it works, right? The amount is not where the power comes in, the intention and the consciousness behind it. And so there must be a good, a joyous, an affirmative feeling behind your giving, a more than enough awareness, right? That you're giving from the source, not from the resource. And from that place of awareness, then you experience the full, complete blessing of giving. And so then we affirm, all the money that I use returns to me multiplied. In a never-ending cycle. Of increase. And enjoyment. So we bless you. We love you. We pray that each and every one of you have just an awesome and safe holiday weekend, however you choose to celebrate. This is the kickoff for the summer. So I hope you're doing something enjoyable. We look forward to taking a little bit of time off and being off next Sunday.
Yes.
And look forward to returning and coming back in June. I think we have 3 more chapters left. 3 more chapters left, or more classes left for us for We Got Game. Okay? So we look forward to seeing you in June, week after next.
June, y'all.
Yeah, I know.
We're halfway through the year almost.
Yeah, the year is moving.
Yeah.
The year is moving. Time does not stop. Right? And we love you, and we'll see you soon.
Bye for now.
All right, bye for now.